From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
Your Voice America. Your Voice America.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice.
The silent majority is silent no more.
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Your Voice America. Your Voice America.
Folks, welcome to this special segment of Your Voice America. This is a spotlight segment. This is a segment where we interview typically a politician who's running for office and get their take on the state of their race. Today, we have Shiva Ayyadurai, and he is running for the Senate in the state of Massachusetts. And we know who else is in the state of Massachusetts, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Trump likes to refer to her as Pocahontas. Why does he call her that? Because she pretends that she's an Indian and she's not. You know, she got a lot of mileage out of that over the years. And Trump likes to make a little fun of that. But Dr. Shiva is a very accomplished gentleman. He has got, 4 degrees from MIT. I don't think MIT would even, talk to me, but he's got 4 degrees from MIT. And when he was 14 years old, I wrote about 50,000 lines of code and came up with what we know as email. I think he even coined the term email. And now we get emails all day long, and he's the guy that we should blame for that. He got it started. Dr. Shiva, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks for having me on your wonderful show. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very good. Okay. Well, you just recently had a run-in with Seth Rogen. I had a run-in with Seth Rogen. He kind of trolled me for a couple days, and it was nice because the night that he was giving me a hard time, our show got 130,000 plays because, of course, there's no such thing as bad advertising, right? So, and you had a run-in with him as well, and then ended up getting some sort of, death threats or some crazy thing like that from one of his supporters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love Twitter. It's an awesome medium to reach people, as you know, Bill. Day before, Seth Rogen had tweeted out some expletives against Steve Bannon, saying that he wasn't going to go on Sirius because Steve was on there, and he was basically screaming out at Steve. So I tweeted out to Rogan and I said, you're really a Hollywood ventriloquist dummy. And if you want to be a political activist, why don't you debate me? And I even said, I'll give you a round trip first class ticket to Boston. Rogan's response was interesting. He said, I'm not going to debate someone who has been involved in domestic abuse. And he put a mugshot of me out there, Bill. Now you got to understand, this mugshot was a completely false claims. It was completely thrown out of court. In fact, outright dismissed. So I tweeted back at him. I said, that's a nice picture, but the fact is it was outright dismissed, and I'm the one who's going to defeat racist Senator Warren. So his followers and him felt completely disarmed because, they thought they were going to disarm me. Yeah. And the response to that was a wave of his supporters attacking me, and one of them said they're going to blow me up, and you can read the expletive, it's out on Twitter, and all sorts of racist slurs. So my response was I shared that with my followers, and I tweeted back at Seth in a very civil way saying, hey, Seth, I really just wanted to have a civil debate with you. Right. I think it's unfortunate your followers are doing this, and they just posted a death threat on me. Now, you would think someone, like Rogan, who comes from the manufactured Hollywood environment where they claim that they stand for people of color and minorities and are against sexism, would say something. Absolute crickets out of Rogan, nothing. Yeah. So I find that kind of behavior, A, complicit with a death threat, B, supporting racism as though a minority beats up women, and putting that out to his women followers. What's fascinating, Bill, is right as this was going on over the last 24, 48 hours, I started getting a lot of emails. In fact, I got an email from people who work with Rogan. And they said, this guy used to come to our trailer, completely blitzed, bong hits all the time. And the abusive words he would say against women, completely perverted of the worst sorts, puts Donald Trump's statements that people got so upset at, Rogan's perversion is on a factor of 100x. And that's sort of the hypocrisy of these people. They use race, they use sex. Right. And when you look at Hollywood, it's one of the biggest caste systems, the classist systems that exist. They have above the line, anyone who's a director of production above, and everyone else is treated like dirt. So they're racist, they're sexist, sexual harassment is their bread and butter. And so that, the hypocrisy of Rogan, but not only Rogan, of the entire Hollywood class is what's fascinating.
Right.
If a civil rights analysis was done on Hollywood by race and religion and the media, it would be quite, interesting, right? But no one does it. They go after Silicon Valley, they go after small businesses, but not about Hollywood.
Yeah, it's amazing. Seth Rogen's followers and friends on the internet are kind of nutty. I encounter that as well. They really love the guy, but they're kind of unhinged and out of touch with reality. So I'm sorry that you got to experience that, but that's the nature of those guys. But let's use that to segue into your race against Senator Warren. You are running as an independent in Massachusetts, and Senator Warren is quite unpopular up there right now, isn't she?
She's very unpopular. The reality is, Bill, in Massachusetts, when you look at the landscape, 4.3 million registered voters, 1 million aren't even registered. There's another 1.2 million. Among those 4.3, 3 million consistently vote, 1.5 million registered Democrats, less than 500,000 Republicans, and the remaining 2.3 are independents. So Massachusetts it's fundamentally a state of independence, not blue or red. It's a cradle of where the American Revolution started. But the irony is this cradle has become sort of the sewer that feeds the swamp in D.C. And in particular, I'm talking about the establishment Democrats and Republicans. You have Charlie Baker, who's a never Trumper governor. You have Mitt Romney, who came out of here, not only attacked Trump, but here's a guy who his Bain Capital made about $750 million by aggregating and flipping methadone clinics. That's their solution to opioid addiction. And then you have Elizabeth Warren, who cheated to get into Harvard. By the way, all of these three guys are from Harvard. What's contrasting to that, so they're lawyer, lobbyists, career politicians. You go down the street, look, MIT is not perfect, but I can tell you this, Massachusetts is rated #1 for innovation, not because of the Harvard clan, but because of the hardworking high-tech workers at MIT. 33,000 businesses came out of MIT. $2 trillion in annual revenue, contributing to the U.S. GDP. That's the results of innovation versus people who manipulate and move money around, Bill. So I'm part of that group. And Warren represents the hypocrisy of the academic elite, but also the Hollywood elite. That's why they like her, right? So she can lie to get into Harvard, said she was an Indian, take away a minority's job, which is completely using race. And then when someone like Trump calls her on it as Pocahontas, then she uses race again to say that he's racist. And that's the insidious cleverness of the liberal wing of the establishment. They use people of color, they use poor whites, poor blacks as a football. And they've gotten much better than the conservative wing at doing this. Yeah. The problem they have with me, Bill, is, I'm an embodiment of the American dream. I came here with nothing as a legal immigrant, went through the public school systems, worked my butt off, went to MIT, 4 degrees, started 7 companies, and I figured them out. They are the liberal wing is what I call the not so obvious establishment. And for a person of color like myself, for an American, not only am I the real Indian who'll defeat the fake Indian, but I'm also a real American who's exposing the fact that these people aren't even Americans. They don't believe in hard work. They believe in elitism. And they have one yardstick, as my father would say, for themselves, and a different yardstick for you and me. And that kind of hypocrisy is what needs to end. And I think our defeating Elizabeth Warren, the reason that they're so afraid, Bill, is that it's going to set, I think, an important wave that everyday people who actually work for a living, actually produce value, can actually participate in governance. And we need to get rid of these career politicians, lawyer lobbyists, et cetera. One of our key part of our platform is 3 things: clean government, real jobs, and real health. Under clean government, term limits. If you've held any position for any 2 terms, local or federal, you got to get out. $1, 1 vote, which means whatever the total number of registered voters are, you should spend $1. Massachusetts, I'm saying under 5 million. If you need to spend $100 million to get elected, that means your message sucks. No one really cares about it. And the only way you're going to win is pummel people with broadcast advertising. Right. And those 2 things fundamentally sort of expose the nature of these career politicians. So
Absolutely.
that's sort of the fundamentals pillar. The other two is real health and real jobs. Real health, Bill, is Romney Care, Obamacare has nothing to do with healthcare. I don't even know why they call it a healthcare bill. They call it insurance care. It's about building big insurance, big hospitals, and big pharma. You know, I have a company that I'm running today that came out of my MIT work called Cytosolve, where we can model the human cell on the computer, Bill, which means it allows us to create medicines faster and cheaper without killing animals, without doing in vitro testing. We discovered a drug for pancreatic cancer and got it allowed, Bill, by the FDA, a combination drug, in a record 11 months. So healthcare is not about single pay or multi-pay. It's about lowering the cost of healthcare. And then we can talk about all these other things, but the reality is the racket, the lobbyists don't want to reduce the cost. They want everyone on their high-priced insurance because that's how they keep the cost of hospital bills high and the cost of pharmaceuticals. Our view is you got to do prevention and cures. Technologies like what I've created helps cures, but we got to go to prevention. Number one source of cancer in the world in the United States is food. Elizabeth Warren voted for the Monsanto Protection Act bill. A lot of people don't know this, and this is for the lefties listening out there, or even people on the right, it doesn't matter, but food is the lifeblood of health. Monsanto has single-handedly destroyed the food supply in the world and this country through their herbicides. By the way, this is a company that dropped 50,000 tons of Agent Orange on the Vietnamese and our veterans who still don't get taken care of. And then they also produce genetically engineered foods, which have no safety assessment standard. My research has exposed them on that. Warren voted for the Monsanto Protection Act. So we've been hitting her hard on that bill. It's about prevention and cures. That's where real health comes from. And when you go to jobs, Bill, you know, you talked about the invention of email. You know, fundamentally, an economy, it comes from innovation. You know, when my stuff went into the Smithsonian, Bill, about 5 years ago, clearly showing I invented the first email system, a lot of these liberals got really upset because they had written the narrative that email must have come out of the military and elite institutions like MIT. I did it before I came to MIT. And the facts are black and white, but it's innovation that drives the economy. A young 14-year-old kid in Newark can invent email. By the way, a young 14-year-old kid in Franklin, Idaho, Philo Farnsworth, is who invented TV. Innovation can come from anywhere, but they want to farm innovation, Bill, like they farm genetically engineered foods to certain local centers. So then they can control it, right, you know, in a centralized way. Yeah. So I think my story is very compelling because it's a very authentic story, very true story. And it's based on, you know, good old American hard work and innovation. Unlike Elizabeth Warren, who's basically a fake Indian, fake fighter, and has never really created anything.
Yeah, fascinating, fascinating. I tell you what, I wish we had longer to talk. This is all very interesting, but you have a compelling story, and I think that people should definitely take your candidacy there in Massachusetts seriously and reach out to you. Do you have a website or some way that they can donate or support you?
Yeah, our website is Shiva for Senate. The 4 is the number 4, okay. ShivaForSenate.com. People all over the country and within Massachusetts are helping us. You can donate, not only money, but your time, right, to support our campaigns. That's, ShivaForSenate.com. Absolutely. And look, the truth is only a real Indian can defeat the fake Indian, right, because only a real American can defeat and win this race, because we need to go back to the core roots that made this country great, why my parents came here in 1970. America is a phenomenally great country on so many levels, and we need to go back to its roots. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I appreciate your coming on the show. I think our audience is going to be fascinated by this, and hopefully we'll get you on again as the race gets closer and closer. You're running as independent, so there's no primary that you have to face. No, going straight for the general election. We're going to collect 10,000 signatures. I mean, we're fighting against Warren right now. We're hitting the ground. Yeah. We're exposing her every step of the way. By the way, I named a star after her called the Monsanto Warren Death Star. You can go see it. There's some astronomy sessions where you can see the star, just to show the collusion between her and one of the most evil corporations in the world, corporations she claims that she's fighting against. Amazing, amazing. Okay, well, I really appreciate you coming on the show today, and people can reach you on Twitter at VA_Shiva. Is that correct? At VA_Shiva. I'm very active on Twitter. Okay, great. So watch the news. You'll see a lot of great fireworks on there as we expose the fake Indian, Elizabeth Warren. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, very good. Thank you for coming on Your Voice America today. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thank you.